Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to unpack sources, pull out the key insights, and basically give you that shortcut to being really well informed. Today, we're diving deep into this idea of frontiers. And not just the old geographical kind, but frontiers of, well, human curiosity, scientific discovery, and this incredibly fast-moving landscape of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix we've got today. We've pulled from academic papers looking at how science actually gets done, a pretty detailed industry report on the latest AI trends,
Yeah.
and even some philosophical thinking about what all these advancements really mean for us, for our understanding of humanity itself.
Right. So our mission really is to unpack what genuinely sparks those big discoveries, just how rapidly AI is changing things, and maybe touch on some of the deeper questions this all raises about being human right now. Okay, let's get into it. We throw around the word innovation all the time, but where does it actually come from? What's the spark? And it gets interesting here because our sources seem to point to something really basic, maybe even fundamental, just plain curiosity.
That's absolutely right. And it's not just like a passing thought. It's described as a fundamental drive state for information, a really deep intrinsic motivator for us to learn. It's actually so pervasive. It quietly fuels a huge chunk of the global economy. It even drives things like, how animals forage for food. It's that basic.
And the benefits aren't just fuzzy concepts either. There's data. One study showed that even a small bump in curiosity, like 1 point on a 7-point scale, was linked to a pretty amazing 34% increase in creativity. Plus, it helps us make better choices because it pushes us to look beyond what we already think we know.
Where?
So yeah, better decisions too.
And, developmentally, our brains seem wired for this right from the start. Think about the Goldilocks effect. Babies, infants, they instinctively focus on things that are not too simple, but also not overwhelmingly complex. They go for what's just right to push their understanding forward, maximizing how they learn. And that probably applies to all of us, doesn't it? Finding that sweet spot that keeps us engaged and learning.
So, okay, if it's that important, how do we actually encourage it? In ourselves or, say, in companies or teams? Well, our sources have some practical ideas. Things like actually hiring for curiosity, asking people in interviews about their interests outside of work. And leaders need to show it themselves, right? Model inquisitiveness, ask questions. It also suggests shifting focus from just hitting performance targets to emphasizing learning goals, giving people freedom to explore, like 3M and Google did with their famous 20% time. It's about making space for questions, really. Okay, but that leads to a really critical question, doesn't it? If curiosity is the engine, is the way we do science right now actually fueling discovery, or maybe holding it back?
That's a key tension that comes up. Science, according to the one paper we looked at, really has two core parts. There's discovery, and then there's assimilation.
Yeah.
Discoveries are the big leaps. The breakthroughs, think quantum mechanics or finding a totally new cure for a disease. They often happen in bursts, sometimes completely by accident. Assimilation, on the other hand, is about taking that new knowledge and actually putting it to work. Building a GPS based on physics principles or making that medical cure effective and widely available.
Right. So the challenge here, the really deep implication, is that what you need for discovery might be fundamentally different from what you need for assimilation. And the way modern science often works, with all the pressure to publish or perish or maximize citations, well, our sources suggest that might actually be getting in the way of real, genuine discovery. It makes you wonder, are we maybe rewarding the climbers more than the wanderers?
Yeah, and there was this fascinating simulation, like a toy model, described in one source that illustrates this perfectly. It basically showed that as you increase citation pressure, which is kind of like the real-world push for scientists to get more papers and citations, the average time to first discovery for the whole scientific field actually gets much, much longer. In fact, if the pressure gets really high in the model, sometimes no discovery happens at all during the simulation run. So it strongly suggests that what looks productive for an individual scientist under the current rules might actually be, well, unproductive for science overall.
Which brings us to that great analogy they used, the wanderer versus the climber. Wanderers are the ones who step outside the known territory, the existing knowledge circles, and explore the unknown. Think of someone like Isaac Newton. He spent a ton of time on alchemy and biblical stuff. Was that outside his genius, as the source asks, or was he just doing what he did best, wandering into really uncharted areas?
Exactly. Whereas climbers, they tend to stay within the established circles. They focus on research that's more likely to get published, get cited, help them climb that academic ladder, promotions, grants, influence, all that. And the way competition works in science right now, papers, citations, grants, awards, It mostly seems to reward that climbing behavior.
Okay.
So the big question becomes, in this system, this competition, actually good for science itself? Or is it just really good at producing successful competitors, the climbers?
Okay, so from those challenges within traditional science, let's pivot. Let's talk about a very different kind of frontier, one that's moving incredibly fast, artificial intelligence. We're now looking at a JP Morgan report focusing on emerging tech trends for 2025, and AI is front and center.
Absolutely. The report really hammers home how generative AI, Gen AI, and these things called AI agents are just fundamentally changing technology everywhere. We're talking everything from customer experience right down to the basic digital infrastructure. It's not just incremental change. It's like a foundational shift.
Let's look at some examples. Under innovative products and experiences, you've got multimodal AI that understands images, text, sound, creating things like AI-generated video, realistic avatars. Imagine like personalized learning materials with an AI coach avatar guiding you. And just look at the market for AI voice generators, projected to jump from maybe $3 billion this year to over $20 billion by 2030. That's huge. It's transforming customer service with voice AI agents that can supposedly even understand emotion.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, too, is how we might find information in the future. We're used to SEO, search engine optimization, right? Well, now there's talk of GEO, generative engine optimization, optimizing content so these new AI-powered search engines can understand and use it effectively. Gartner actually predicts traditional search volume could drop 25% by 2026, and organic traffic, maybe down 50% or more by 2028. That's a massive shift in how we access information online.
And it's hitting business operations hard, too. Things like ad tech, automation, AI agents basically running entire marketing campaigns, personalizing everything. And for employees, AI coaching is becoming a thing. Personalized guidance, training, using voice, video, avatars for real-time feedback. It's changing professional development.
Another really key development is on-device AI. So putting the AI smarts directly onto your phone, your laptop, whatever device. The advantages are pretty clear. Faster responses, because it doesn't need the cloud, better privacy, because your data stays local, and it uses less power. And the market for this is predicted to be enormous, over $114 billion by 2031. So AI power right there in your hand, basically.
Okay, but maybe one of the most potentially disruptive things mentioned is agentic financial transactions.
Yeah.
Think about AI agents just autonomously managing stuff, optimizing your energy bills, handling invoices, maybe even negotiating contracts.
Yeah.
That kind of agent-to-agent workflow where AIs are doing deals, I mean, that's going to need some serious regulatory thought, right?
Absolutely. And underpinning all of this is just a huge amount of technology modernization. AI needs incredible computing power, so that's driving completely new data center designs. Think innovative cooling, maybe even building them near new power sources like nuclear plants. Companies are also creating these AI platforms as a service, AI clouds, just to make it easier for businesses to actually deploy and manage all this complex AI stuff. And tools for AI workload orchestration, using things like Kubernetes, which helps manage software, are streamlining the whole AI development pipeline.
And even software development itself is changing. Agentic software development. AI agents that can understand plain English, make plans, write code, test it autonomously. The idea is to free up human developers for more creative, high-level work. And of course, securing all this is critical. So
Right.
you're seeing new tools to secure AI agents, detect deepfakes, use AI in cybersecurity, and also confidential AI, which aims to protect sensitive data even while the AI is processing or learning from it. That's crucial for privacy. So when you pull all this together, the AI advancements, but also thinking back to things like genetics, these aren't just tech developments, are they? They start raising some really big philosophical, ethical questions about what it even means to be human anymore.
That's exactly what our source, The Future of Humanity, gets at. It argues that these scientific leaps directly impact how we see ourselves. Basic concepts, human nature, the connection between mind and body, even free will, they're all kind of up for grabs now, aren't they? When you have machines showing intelligence, using language, reasoning in ways we used to think were uniquely human.
And that leads straight into this idea of potentially redesigning human nature. You look at tools like CRISPR gene editing. Yes, amazing potential for curing diseases, absolutely. But it also opens the door to, well, enhancing the human genome. Ideas like transhumanism, posthumanism, where does that lead?
It raises some really difficult questions.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can create enhanced humans, are they still us, still Homo sapiens? Could that create massive new divides, new inequalities between the enhanced and the, Well, the normal. And then you have the whole specter of artificial general intelligence or strong AI,
Yeah.
systems that could maybe reprogram themselves, maybe even achieve some kind of self-awareness. Stephen Hawking's warning about that potentially being the end of the human race, it certainly makes you pause and think about the power we're unleashing.
Yeah, and the source gives a really important warning here, I think. It cautions against falling into a technocratic paradigm. Basically, the danger that the methods and goals of science and technology become the only way we think about shaping our lives, our society, forgetting about other values, maybe.
Exactly. What's needed instead, it argues, is more interdisciplinary thinking, bringing different voices to the table, not just scientists and technologists to hash out these huge issues. It's about figuring out criteria for deciding the direction research should go, not just based on what's technically possible or what makes money. How do we make sure progress actually aligns with human dignity? And who gets to decide what research is, ethically okay or not? These are massive conversations we need to be having.
So, quite a journey we've taken. We started with that fundamental spark of curiosity, how crucial it is for real discovery, then looked at how the current science system might sometimes get in its own way. And then we plunged into that just incredible accelerating frontier of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, from AI agents changing how businesses run, right through to these profound questions about potentially changing what it means to be human.
Yeah.
These really do feel like endless frontiers, don't they?
Absolutely. So, as we keep pushing these boundaries, discovering more, creating more powerful tools, maybe the biggest challenge isn't just what we can do. Maybe it's how we choose to navigate it all. How do we make sure that incredible human curiosity, that drive to innovate, actually ends up serving us all, serving the collective good? That's definitely something to think about.